Greetings, everyone, and welcome to Back to Ashes. My name is Phoenix. To the elite members, thank you so much for your continuous support. I cannot put into words how much I actually do appreciate you. With that being said, it is now time to go back to ashes. For once we arise from the ashes, we are a bigger, brighter, stronger, and a happier person every day. Sit back, relax, kick back, grab a snack or tuck in and get warm, and prepare for your dose of vocal melatonin entitled True Scary Stories. Right after this intro, there will be an ad. I'll read the first story, there will be an ad. And after that, there will be no more ads within this video. I've always walked to work, Monday through Thursday, like clockwork, 4 p.m. sharp. A small luxury in a boring life, I guess. That 3-day weekend. Same cracked sidewalk, same broken streetlights, same river bridge that stinks of algae and stagnant time. I've lived in this sleepy patch of Iowa for 2 years now. It's the kind of place that smells like dust and regret. A lot of people here lose themselves in meth or booze or both. You get used to the twitchy eyes, the teeth like yellow tombstones, the dead stares. But this one guy, he was different. The first time I saw him, it was nothing. Just a figure sitting on the curb near the abandoned laundromat. Thin, greasy black hair like damp threads, pale skin stretched tight across his face like drying paper. He sat there without moving. No smoking, no phone, no drink. Just sitting, staring straight ahead at nothing. Every day after that, same spot, 4 p.m., unblinking, like he'd been placed there. I thought maybe he was new in town or just broken. Nothing unusual. Until the visor. It was last Thursday, maybe, when I realized I'd forgotten my work visor. My actual clean one, not the communal sweat sponge we all passed around. I was already halfway to work, past the river and its stick green water, so I turned back. That's when I saw him again. But now he was walking, not sitting, not staring, walking directly toward me. Same slow, deliberate pace, like his feet had never forgotten how to move. His eyes didn't meet mine. I smiled, out of habit, I guess, and he didn't even flinch. Just passed me like a windless ghost. I got home, grabbed the visor, and started back again. Only now, he was coming again toward me. The timing was too perfect. I crossed the street. I didn't even think about it, just an instinct. But I felt it the moment I did. His head turned slightly, slowly, and then I saw it. That look. Not confusion, not curiosity, not anger. It was recognition. Like I'd made a mistake, like I'd broken his pattern. I brushed it off. Told myself it was nothing, just a coincidence. But my gut was tight and cold. I've always trusted my instincts, so I called my girlfriend and asked her to stay at my place while I worked. I don't like leaving the apartment empty when something feels wrong. When she arrived, she told me someone had been standing near the dumpster outside the complex, smoking. She said he just watched her. Didn't speak, didn't blink, just stood there like a wire about to snap. She described him without even asking. It was him. Of course it was him. Eventually he left. I came home. Nothing missing, nothing broken, just wrong. I didn't sleep much that night. Shadows in the hallway seemed to move when I blinked. I kept expecting to hear something at the door, but nothing came until the next day. I had to walk again, Couldn't exactly call out over a feeling, but I didn't go quietly this time. I left with a blade in my pocket and asked my girlfriend to stay put, lock the doors, don't answer for anyone. And of course, he was there, sitting, like nothing had happened. I stood in front of him, heart pounding, sweat slicking my hands. I asked for his name. His head lifted slow. His eyes, yellow at the white, locked on mine. And then he screamed. It wasn't human. I don't even know how to describe it. It came from somewhere deep, wet and animal. A jagged, guttural sound that vibrated the air around me. It didn't stop. It just poured from his throat like bile from a burst pipe. I backed up, tripped, ran, called off work, told them I was sick, locked the door, barricaded it, actually. A few hours later, I heard it. The scratching. Soft, inconsistent, but persistent. Like something testing the strength of the glass. I crept to the window. It was him, leaning slightly, fingernails dragging slow circles on the pane. Eyes locked on something inside. Not me, exactly. Maybe not anything at all. Just staring into the place I stood. I screamed, yelled for my girlfriend to call the police. She did. By the time they arrived, he was gone. I gave a description, of course. Tried to explain the scream, the stalking, the scratching. The officer looked tired. He nodded too quickly. Said they'd keep an eye out. I knew that look. They thought he was just another tweaker. Then came yesterday. I got a phone call from a number I didn't recognize. Didn't answer. Figured it was spam. Then another, and another, and another. So I picked it up. Silence. Then the scream. That same scream over the line. Louder, closer, crackling with static and hate. I dropped the phone. How did he get my number? I don't give it out. Not even to my neighbors. It's unlisted. My girlfriend doesn't even know it by heart. I went to the police again. Filed a report again. They nodded again. But I could tell they didn't believe me. Here's the part that's messing me up now. Today my girlfriend found something under my window. She thought it was trash at first. It wasn't. It was a piece of paper, folded neatly, stained with something brown, smelled like rot. No message, no threat, just a drawing. A crude sketch of a man sitting on a curb and another figure, smaller, walking away. And behind them both, a tall shape in the distance. No face, no features. Just a long, thin body, like a bone wrapped in skin. The shape had something in its hand. A visor. I don't know what this thing is. Maybe he's a meth head, maybe he's a stalker. Or maybe I've drawn something in. Something ancient. Something that learned how to wear skin and sit still and scream like it's pulling noise from the throat of hell. But I know this much. Every day at 4 p.m. he waits. And every time I walk by now, I feel something fraying. Like reality's just a thin curtain. And he's already on my side of it. And he's learning my name. I I still don't know what we saw that night, but I know it saw us. This isn't one of those stories meant to creep out strangers on the internet. I'm not trying to entertain anyone. I'm writing it because it's stuck, rooted somewhere deep behind my ribs, like a splinter in the soft meat of memory. Some nights when I can't sleep, I can still see him floating through the headlights. I can still feel the silence that followed. How unnatural it was. How wrong. This time, in the summer after I turned 19, I was still living in that sleepy French town tucked up against the woods and wheat fields, where nothing ever really happens. You could grow old there and never feel the brush of something truly strange. Or so I thought. Back then, my best friend and I had this habit, maybe a ritual. Around midnight, we'd get in his old Renault and drive nowhere in particular. Just talking, windows down, the thrum of insects and soft music threading through the warm air. We'd follow the rural roads just outside the city limits, the ones that vanish into the countryside and don't come back out for miles. It felt safe, familiar. Nothing ever touched those roads except deer and dust, and the occasional owl winging overhead. Until it did. That night, it was later than usual, around 1:30 in the morning. The road we were on was one of our usual loops, a narrow ribbon of black cutting between open fields. No streetlights, no houses, not even a fence to break up the view. Just endless stalks of wheat rippling gently in the wind. And that smell, earth and moisture and something else I couldn't place. We were mid-conversation about something stupid, exes probably, when the car jerked forward and stopped hard. My friend didn't scream, didn't flinch. He just hit the brakes, like something had reached into his mind and made him. I blinked at the windshield, and that's when I saw him. There, caught in the glare of the headlights, was a man crossing the road, completely naked. Now, when I say naked, I don't just mean undressed. I mean bare. No hair, no scars, no genitals. His skin was a flat, almost powdery gray. Not like a corpse, but not like anything living either. It had this uncanny, chalky dullness, like something halfway finished. Something that had been shaped but never painted. And he wasn't walking, he was gliding. Each step looked forced, as if he were mimicking the idea of walking without understanding how weight works. His arms dangled uselessly at his sides. His head drooped forward slightly, and yet there was an intent behind the movement. Not random, not disoriented. He was going somewhere. And the worst part, he never once turned his head. Not toward the car, not toward the noise or the lights on us. It was like we didn't exist. He crossed the road slowly, agonizingly slow, and disappeared into the field on the other side. The tall wheat closed behind him without a sound. For a few seconds, we sat in absolute silence. No engine hum, no music, just the brittle crackle of insects and the sound of blood rushing in my ears. Then my friend said, barely above a whisper, "Was he naked?" He didn't have to wait for an answer. He threw the car into gear and gunned it. We didn't stop until we were back near the main road where the streetlights began to return, where the world felt normal again. But even then, something was off. My skin crawled. The hairs on my neck wouldn't settle. I felt watched, like he hadn't left it behind. I didn't sleep that night. The next day, we both pretended to laugh it off like it had just been some crackhead wanderer. Maybe a weird local with heat stroke or some performance artist pushing boundaries. But around noon, we decided to go back for closure, for answers. Maybe to convince ourselves it had just been a man. We found the spot easily. The twisted old tree leaning over the ditch marked the exact place. The field was just as wide and empty in the daylight, but something about it felt hollow, like the air was thinner there, too still. We got out and looked around. There were no trails, no trampled wheat, no footprints in the dry dirt, no nearby house, no shed, no barn, just field, stretching on and on. We ventured a little into the field he had crossed into, and that's when we found it. Something had been lying there. The wheat was bent into a perfect oval, maybe 6 foot long. The stalks weren't broken. They were melted, like they'd been pressed down by something heavy and warm, but without pressure. It made no sense. The ground inside the oval was dry but darker than the rest, as if it had been drained of something. I reached out and touched one of the bent stalks. It was cold, like metal pulled from a freezer, despite the summer heat. That night, I had dreams, and in the dream, I was back in the field. But this time, I was on my knees in the center of that oval. Something was watching me from the wheat. I couldn't see it, but I could feel it. Like it had no eyes, but it knew exactly where I was. And when I woke up, I had a nosebleed. I hadn't had one of those in years. My friend, he didn't want to talk about it after that. Whenever I brought it up, he changed the subject. Within a month, he moved to the city and we lost touch. He left me a voicemail once, drunk sounding, whispering about it walking again and how the fields never end when you're inside them. I still have it saved, though I don't listen to it anymore. I've never gone back to that stretch of road, and sometimes when I'm alone and it's very late, I think about the way that thing moved, the way it didn't see us, because that's what I told myself for years, that it didn't see us, and now I'm not so sure. I think it did. I think it just didn't care. And also I think, whatever it wasn't done with us yet. You never really think it's going to happen to you. That's what I've learned. You hear stories, sure. Maybe even mutter something like, "That's so creepy," while scrolling past a news post or watching a documentary late at night. Then you forget. You go back to your routine. You sleep with the window cracked open because it's hot and stuffy, and you like the feel of the breeze against your skin. You don't think about how thin that screen is, or how close someone could be, just outside. I was 14 when it happened. We lived in a cramped apartment in the city. Not the worst part of town, but not the kind of place where you left your doors unlocked either. The layout was simple. Walk in the front door, and immediately to your right was a closet, and straight ahead, my bedroom. The kitchen and living room were to the left, and past that, a narrow hallway that led to my mom's room and the rest of the apartment. And then there was my window. It faced the back alley. I used to think it was a blessing during summer. There was a fire escape outside, which made it easier to run an AC unit without management noticing. We weren't technically supposed to have one, but my asthma flared up badly in the heat, and my mom would rather break a lease rule than watch me struggle to breathe. That fire escape. Oh, I see it differently now. It was the start of the school year, a Friday night. Still warm, heavy with that sticky kind of city heat that makes your skin feel damp even in the dark. My older brother was at work, and I was in my mom's room with her and my little brother. Let's just call him A. We were watching a show, laughing, half dozing. I remember feeling safe. I wished I could go back to that version of myself. The girl who thought the only thing she had to worry about was finishing her homework and keeping her grades up. Around 9:30 or so, my mom got up to heat some leftovers. A was still on his tablet, zoning out. I didn't notice anything off at first. I was distracted. But then, my mom paused. She turned toward the living room with this weird look on her face, like she was listening for something. Then she whispered, "Do you hear that?" I didn't. Not at first. But she had this way of making me pay attention when something wasn't right. Her eyes were narrowed, and I could tell she was scanning the space like a mother animal sensing danger. She looked at the cat tree. Only 2 cats there. The third, a jittery little gray tabby, was in the room with us. That should have been all of them. But we were hearing something from my room. Shuffling, scraping, a soft thump. It wasn't until I heard the bang that I felt the shift. A full body, gut deep coldness that settled under my skin and made my stomach feel like a block of lead. My mom walked quickly, too quickly, to my bedroom door and opened it. Then her voice, flat, firm, but shaking underneath, called out into the dark, "You cannot stay here." At first, I thought she was messing with me. She did that sometimes. Ghost jokes. Pretending to talk to spirits when lights flickered or appliances shut off for no reason. That stupid hallway light by the front door was always going out. I rolled my eyes, waiting for her to crack a smile. She didn't. She kept saying it louder now. "No, you can't stay. You cannot come in." Something was very wrong. I got up, crept behind her. That's when I saw it. A leg. Pale, dangling through the open window. A woman's leg. Knees scraped, dirty, like she'd been crawling through soot or ash. One foot was planted squarely on my mattress. My sheets were twisted beneath her. Her arms gripping the window frame, and she was pulling herself inside, as if this wasn't her first time doing it, as if she knew the angles. My mom was trembling, but she stood her ground. She snapped her fingers at me. "Get something," she hissed. "Now!" I bolted into the hall, grabbed a broom and a hammer from the front closet. My hands were shaking. When I returned, I saw her fully for the first time. She was barefoot, skin almost blue in the moonlight, stringy hair clinging to her cheeks. She wore black shorts and a tight black tank top, soaked in sweat and something else, something darker. Her eyes were sunken. Her lips were cracked, and she was clutching something in her hand. A metal pole. I recognized it. It used to be part of my old bed frame, one we'd broken down and set near the window to throw it out soon. My room was a mess. My AC unit had been ripped from the window and thrown to the floor. My makeup case was shattered, powders and brushes scattered across the wood, trinkets and little personal things, gifts, notes, drawings, lay in a sad heap around her. She looked at us like a dog that had been kicked too many times. Her voice was thin, pleading. Please, let me stay. My mom just died. My girlfriend left me. I have nowhere to go. Just for tonight, please, please. I couldn't breathe. I wanted to cry, to scream, but I just stood there, broom in one hand, hammer in the other, heart jackhammering in my throat. My mom's voice didn't waver. So what? My mom's been dead 20 years. You are not staying here. The woman's face twisted. Rage, grief, something in between. Her grip on the pole tightened. My mom grabbed a piece of the bed frame, another metal rod, and thrust it through the window. The woman flinched. For a second, I thought she might fight. She looked like someone who wanted to fight, but then she dropped down the fire escape and was gone. We called the police. They came quickly, took statements, took the poles she'd held, wrapped in one of my old t-shirts for fingerprints. One of them told us she might be caught upstairs trying to break into the apartment above us, right after hours. My mom had seen her being dragged down the hallway in cuffs, hair wild, eyes wide. She said she got one last glimpse before they turned the corner, and she swore that woman smiled. That night, my mom and I stayed up till sunrise. We talked about the things we'd brushed off, the food that went missing, the doors that didn't seem fully shut, the cats, how they always hissed at the front door or stared at the window like something was there. Someone in the building had warned my mom about a woman who climbed fire escapes and tried to sneak into apartments. She hadn't believed her. We never found out who she really was. No mugshot, no follow-up. Just a name on a report and a missing AC unit. Now, every night before bed, we check the windows. We jam poles in them tight. We bought blackout curtains so no one could see inside. And even when we visit family, we double lock everything, every single time. Because here's the truth. She could have come back. Or worse, someone else already has. Lock your windows. Block them tight. Never assume the night is yours alone, because someone might be watching, and they're waiting for you to forget. There's a darkness in the South that has nothing to do with the night. It settles in your bones like wet earth, humming in power lines and hiding in thick trees that never seem to move, even when the wind howls. It's the kind of darkness that lives under your skin, quiet, patient, and always watching. I didn't believe that, not really, until the night I worked alone at the gas station. I was just 18. Dumb, maybe. Hopeful. Working at a rundown gas station in the slow belly of the suburbs. The kind of place where the streetlights flicker for a while and then just give up completely. It wasn't a dangerous place. At least that's what people told themselves. Nothing truly bad happened there. Not in our town. Not to people like me. Still, Sophia, my manager, had a rule. Never schedule the girls for overnight. She was strict about that. Said it was for our safety, but wouldn't elaborate. The male clerks always took the graveyard shift. Always. Until I volunteered. It was supposed to be one night. Just an extra few hours. A little cash. I lived 5 minutes away and didn't even need a car to get home. The store was quiet that night. Too quiet. The kind of quiet that makes your ears ring, like your body knows something's wrong before your brain does. I tried to stay busy, sweeping floors that didn't need sweeping, stacking dusty candy bars that hadn't moved in weeks. It must have been around 10:30 when he came in. I didn't even hear the bell. One moment I was scrolling on my phone, the next he was standing at the counter. Tall, filthy, not just unkempt. Wrong. Like his skin didn't fit right. His hair hung in greasy clumps over his eyes, and his clothes were stained with something dark that had dried in stiff patches. He didn't smell like a man who just walked in from outside. He smelled stagnant, like cellars and wet stone. "Bathroom," he said, voice low and wet in his throat. I nodded and pointed to the back hallway. He didn't thank me, just walked slowly past, his feet dragging slightly, like he couldn't quite lift them. The hallway light flickered when he passed under it. I watched him vanish into the dark. And then I forgot about him. Like an idiot, I went back to my phone. A regular came in, Mr. Haynes, a retired Marine. Tough guy, real straight shooter. We talked for a while, and in the middle of our conversation, something clattered in the back. Sharp, sudden, like metal on tile. A mop, maybe? A broom? Mr. Haynes looked toward the hallway. "You working alone tonight?" I hesitated. Yeah? You want me to check it out?" He was already stepping around the counter. I stopped him, too worried about getting written up for letting a customer into employee-only areas. So he gave me a weird look, like he wanted to say more but didn't, and left with a gruff, "I'll be back later." The silence after he left was louder than anything. I waited. Time passed in sticky silence. The buzz of the soda machine, the hum of fluorescent lights. I didn't see the man come back. I didn't hear him leave the bathroom. I didn't even hear the door open. He was just gone, I thought. I assumed. My brain made it easy for me. We do that when something's too strange to understand. Eventually, I had to pee. I'd been sipping from a never-ending cup of blue Powerade all night, and nature wasn't asking anymore. It was demanding. So I headed back. That's when things stopped making sense. The hallway was quiet, dim. The office door, our office door, was slightly ajar. I hadn't left it open. I know I hadn't. Something in my gut coiled tight, but I pushed forward anyway. Not with my hands. I don't know why, but I kicked the door instead, swung it open with a sharp thwack. The motion light flicked on overhead, slow and stuttering like it had been asleep too long. And there he was, standing behind the door, pressed flat against the wall, perfectly still. He didn't flinch when the light came on. He didn't move when I screamed. He didn't blink. He just stared at me, his head slightly tilted, like he couldn't quite figure out what I was or how I had found him. His mouth twitched into the ghost of a smile. Then, without a word, he stepped out from behind the door and walked toward me. Slow, deliberate, like nothing was wrong. His eyes never left mine, even as he passed me. I backed out of the hallway. He walked straight out the front door and vanished into the night. I locked everything, called Sophia, shaking so hard I could barely hold the phone. She didn't sound surprised. Not really. Just pissed. "Oh, God," she said. "Him again." Apparently, he'd been banned from every other gas station in the area for doing the same thing. Slinking in, hiding in back rooms, lingering too long in places he shouldn't be. But no one had ever caught him doing anything criminal. He hadn't stolen, hadn't touched anything. Just hid and watched and waited. The police showed up hours later, took a statement, shrugged. Technically, they said, he hadn't committed a crime. After that night, he started showing up during the day, random hours. He just stood in the aisles, not buying anything, pretending to browse. But his eyes were always on me. Always. Sometimes he wouldn't even pretend. He'd just stand at the end of the chip aisle, arms slack, mouth slightly open, watching. One day he came in without shoes, just blackened feet, bleeding at the edges. Another day, he stood outside for hours after sunset, peering in through the glass like he was waiting for the lights to go out. Sophia banned him officially, but that didn't stop him. He'd press his face against the window until security came to move him. He never spoke, never yelled, never fought, just stared. Then one day, he stopped coming. Just like that. No warning, no goodbye. Like he'd moved on to something else. Somewhere else. But I never stopped checking that office door. Never stopped waiting for the light to flicker on. For the silence to break. Because there was something unnatural about the way he stood so still. So long. Long enough for the motion light to turn off again. Like he wasn't just hiding. Like he was waiting. And sometimes I wonder if he still is. Not at the store, but somewhere else. Some new place. Some new girl behind some new counter. Too young. Too trusting. Just trying to earn a little extra cash. Telling herself nothing bad ever happens around here. Until it does. Until she kicks open a door she shouldn't. Until she realizes she's not alone. To the man behind the door, let's never meet again. It was late March or early April of 2019 when I found myself staring up at a wall of black, skeletal trees deep in Capitol State Forest, just outside of Olympia. At the time, I thought I was chasing a sense of adventure, something spontaneous, some dumb impulse that made me forget I wasn't home anymore. I'd only been in Washington a few months, having moved up in the fall. My only real friend there was a guy stationed at JBLM, also new to the state, someone I trusted just enough to follow into the dark without asking too many questions. We'd been working on converting the back of his pickup into a makeshift camper, and that night, around midnight, he got this wild idea. Let's go out to the national park and crash for the night. just for the hell of it. We didn't know what we were doing. I remember the drive, how normal it felt at first. Paved roads lined with quiet residential homes, porch lights here and there, a sleepy sort of silence. But then the pavement gave way to dirt, and when it came a subtle wrongness, like we'd passed some unseen boundary, the street lamps disappeared. The houses fell away behind us like dead skin. My cell signal dropped to nothing, and the road narrowed into a forested throat that swallowed us whole. It wasn't Olympic National Park like we thought. It was Capitol State Forest, and I've never made that mistake again. The woods were unnatural. Douglas firs, I think, but stripped bare. The snow that winter had been very heavy, and then it snapped the lower branches like brittle bones. The trees stood like charred matchsticks, shaggy only at the top, their limbs twisted and reaching. I couldn't imagine why, but something about them made me feel watched, and not in that vague, spooky way. I mean, watched, like something was calculating us, measuring. We stopped at a small clearing up a hill, the headlights catching on a faded wooden board riddled with old arrows. A practice target. At first, I tried to shake the unease, told myself it was just the unfamiliar wilderness, the primal fear of bears or mountain lions. But there was something else out there, something deeper. I told my friend I didn't like the spot. Too boxed in. Only one way in and one way out. He agreed easily. Too easily. Like maybe he felt it too. And we pressed further into the woods. Maybe 5 minutes down the road. Found an actual trailhead parking area, wide enough to feel safer. He started messing with a new battery pack we brought. When he flipped it on, it let out this high-pitched electronic scream, like metal tearing through bone. He laughed. I didn't. I stayed in the truck bed, heart doing the low thump in my throat, eyes darting through the trees. It was too quiet. The kind of quiet that feels held, like something is pressing its palm over the forest's mouth. I got out, just to breathe different air. But it didn't help. That wrongness was thick out there, like fog that hadn't risen yet. I was scanning for bears, again, trying to be logical, when I heard it. Tires. Not ours. Not gravel shifting under snowmelt. Rubber. I told him to kill the battery noise. We both froze. In the distance, just up the hill, a pair of headlights flared between the trees. No engine sounds, just the lights, bright and steady, inching closer like eyes widening in the dark. We didn't wait. Threw the gear into the truck bed, slammed the hatch, and scrambled into the cab. He put the truck in drive, and we rolled out slow, careful, still unsure. I told him to slow near the edge of the road so we would see if it was a ranger, someone official. It wasn't. The truck that passed us was all wrong. Matte black. Window tint darker than legal. No logos, no markings, no ranger decals. Two men sat in front, both pale, both watching us, with that kind of cold interest you only ever see in people who already know what they're going to do to you. They didn't slow. They didn't wave. They just kept driving past. And then they turned around. I didn't see the U-turn. I just felt it. and the way my blood dropped like a stone in my chest. The headlights appeared in the mirror again, brighter now, faster, gaining fast. My friend floored it. The truck screamed over the rough, forest road, bouncing and shaking so hard I thought we'd lose the wheel. 45, then 50. They stayed right behind us. The road was a blur of branches and shadows. The floors clawed at the edges of the headlights. No sounds but engine growls and the snapping thuds of rocks under the tires. I could feel them back there, those two men, watching, smiling, the way a spider watches something caught in its web. We burst out of the woods into the neighborhood again. Civilization, if you could call it that, and tried to shake them, but they stuck. Closer now, bright on, not to see, to blind us, to disorient. We were going 70. It was 3:06 in the morning. I remember because I finally glanced at the dash and thought, no one sane chases strangers through the woods at 3 a.m. One porch light flicked on as we roared past a house. A man stepped outside in boxers, blinking in confusion. I prayed he would yell, do something, but we were gone before he processed us. And then, without warning, the black truck overtook us, blurred past on the left, engine screaming, and vanished down a side road. We followed. Of course we did. Something in me screamed not to, but I was pissed, confused, shaking. We turned down the same road maybe 15 seconds later. They were gone. No taillights, no brake lights, no sign of a turn, just stillness. To the left, a dead-end cul-de-sac, one way in, one way out. To the right, a gas station with nothing but empty pumps and silence. Straight ahead, the interstate. We searched, drove slowly, turned around, checked the gas station, drove up and down the service road. Nothing. Only way they could have disappeared that fast was if they'd killed the engine lights and rolled into someone's driveway, or they'd gone off-road, hidden, watching again. I never saw that truck again, but some part of me thinks they saw us, that this was more than a scare, more than locals messing with us. A week later, I researched Capitol State Forest, found a single article about a man found burned in a pickup truck there in 2012. Just one. Buried. No follow-ups. There were other reports too. Unsolved shootings, people vanishing, gunfire echoing through the trees where target practice is supposedly allowed. But it's the silence that sticks with me. The way the woods held its breath the night we were there. Maybe they were just men, meth heads or vigilantes. Or maybe there are things in that forest that wear human skin. And maybe, just maybe, they weren't chasing us out. Maybe we'd interrupted something. Maybe they were hunting and we just got in the way. I haven't gone back, and I never, ever will. In the backwoods of southern Georgia, past the silos and churches and collapsed barns, swallowed up by kudzu, there's a story people don't just tell. They test. It's passed around like a rite of passage, told in gas stations, barbershops, whispered across folded chairs at bonfires. We called it Bingham's Light, and everyone claimed they'd seen it once. Supposedly it started with a conductor, a man who died screaming. The legend says he fell from the train while swinging his lantern, trying to warn someone ahead that the engine couldn't stop in time. But the warning came too late. The train hit whatever was on the tracks, and in the chaos, the conductor slipped and was pulled under the wheels. They say it didn't just sever his head, it took it, swallowed it whole like the earth was hungry that night. And ever since, that whole section of railroad, long since swallowed up by swamp and rot, has a light that floats in the darkness. Not just a flicker, a glow, steady, searching. Some say it's him, wandering with his lantern in the hand, and his hand tucked under his arm, just looking for what he tried to save. Others say it's not him at all. I had heard the story since I was a kid. Half superstition, half dares whispered behind the bleachers. People would drive down the old road at night, park where the tracks used to cut across the field and wait. Sometimes it came, sometimes it didn't. But when it did, people talked about it like a religious experience, like they brushed against something outside the rules of the world. Still, I'd never gone myself, not until that summer night. We were 5 of us crammed into my old Honda Civic. Me, my best friend Colt, his girlfriend Sam, her brother Drew, and Drew's new girl, some quiet chick named Jessie. We were mostly just out to kill time, drink, and see if the ghost stories were worth the breath people wasted on them. I don't remember whose idea it was. I just remember how dark the road was. There were no street lights, no traffic, not even a mailbox, just tree limbs clawing at the roof of the car, the gravel crunching beneath our tires like bones. We saw the light as soon as we turned on to the dirt road. It was already there, floating, maybe a football field away, pale and golden like a lantern behind frosted glass, swaying as if something held it just out of sight. No movement, no sound, just that glow in the blackness. None of us said a word. Colt cut the headlights, and the 5 of us sat frozen, holding our breath like the light might notice. Then it disappeared. No jade, no flicker, just gone. We inched forward, hearts beating in sync. When we reached where the light had been, we all got out, like idiots. And that's when someone noticed it had reappeared, behind us. Back near the road's entrance, the same pale yellow orb floated, as if it had looped behind us without sound or warning. Drew, always the loudest and the dumbest, started taunting it. "I have your head," it yelled, cupping his mouth like he was at a football game. We all hissed at him to shut up. "Give me your damn lantern, headless," he yelled, again, louder this time. "I'll finish your route." That's when it changed, from yellow to red. Not crimson or candy apple, but deep, dark, wrong. Like taillight seen through fog or the fog of a dying ember in the belly of something rotten. The thing about it was, it moved. Not in a straight line. It jolted, like something dragging one foot behind the other. staggering unnaturally towards us before veering hard left and disappearing into the tree line. We didn't chase it. We didn't speak. For a long moment, none of us moved at all. Eventually, we started laughing, the stupid, shaky kind of laughter that covers up the fact that you're not okay. We were still talking about what we'd seen when a pair of headlights crept over the horizon. A beat-up pickup, windows fogged and engine sputtering like a dying animal. "More people here for the light," Colt said nervously. Two men stepped out. They looked normal. Dirty jeans, flannel shirts, boots with swamp mud on them. They waved. We waved back. They asked if we'd seen the light. We told them yes, trying to act cool, still buzzing from the adrenaline. The taller one said they'd been coming out here for years, knew the spot like their own backyard. "We can show you where the old tracks went," he offered. "They're still visible if you want to go far enough into the trees." I wanted to say no. I wanted to scream no. But no one else hesitated. Not Colt, not Drew, not even Jesse, who barely spoke a word. We followed them toward the swamp, one man walking ahead of us, the other hanging behind us. It didn't feel right. The air was heavy, not just humid, but wrong. The insects had gone quiet. Even the frogs stopped croaking as we got closer to the woods. That's when I saw it again. The light, just off to my left, behind the trees. Only this time, it wasn't floating. It was lower, almost on the ground. It wasn't red anymore. It was white. Bright, cold, like the flash of lightning frozen in place. I stopped walking. That pause saved us, because as I turned my head toward the light, my eyes caught something else, something worse. The man in front, the one who said he'd show us the tracks, had a knife in his hand. Long, curved, the kind of blade meant for gutting, not just threatening. He wasn't brandishing it. He was holding it low, near his thigh, like he'd done it before. I felt my heart thud in my throat. I forced a smile, though. I thought I might puke. "Oh man, I just realized the time," I said. "My wife's gonna kill me. We gotta go." Colt blinked at me. "Seriously?" "Yeah," I said quickly. "She's waiting up. Sorry, guys." The two men tried to convince us otherwise, said we were so close. Just another minute or two. But I saw the tension in their jaws, the stillness, like something waiting to strike. I told everyone we had to leave now, and I didn't wait for questions. I turned and walked back, forcing everyone to follow. I positioned myself so I could watch both of them. I didn't see the knife again, but that meant nothing. I could feel the weight of their eyes on our backs. They didn't follow us to the car, didn't wave, didn't say goodbye. When we got in and locked the doors, Colt demanded to know what the hell I was doing. I told him, told them all. Every face turned pale. Jesse started crying. We peeled out of there like the devil was at our heels. That night, I kept thinking about the light. The way it had appeared just as we were about to enter the trees. The way it had drawn my eyes, redirected my gaze to the man's hand, like it had wanted me to see it. I don't know what would have happened if I hadn't, but I think about it sometimes. about the moment where everything could have ended in the dark. I still don't know if the light is the spirit of a dead conductor. I don't know if it's a warning or a trick or something else entirely. But whatever it is, that night, it saved us. Or maybe it just wasn't done yet. Because sometimes when I drive alone at night, I think I see it again, out of the corner of my eye, waiting and watching. And every time I wonder, did we escape something that night? Or did something mark us as its own? And that, dear listeners, brings a close to these true scary stories. I'd like to take a moment and acknowledge the rest of the membership of Back to Ashes. Thank you all so much for your continued dedication. And as I always like to say, without you, I wouldn't have a voice and Back to Ashes would not exist. Thank you is not enough, but it is all that I can muster to say. Thank you. If you're new to the channel and you enjoy what you have heard, please leave a like and a comment. If you would like to become part of the Back to Ashes family, please hit that subscribe button and make sure you have your notification bell turned to all. That way you know every time I upload a video. If you are sleeping, I hope Slumberland is treating you comfortably. If you're awake, I hope you've enjoyed this collection. Until next time, please stay vigilant and take care of yourselves. I'll be reading to you soon. Have yourselves a good morning, a good afternoon, or a good evening. Peace, love, and light to you all.